setting up the basement.
Baruch Hashem. Okay, let's learn. We're in the Sicha and Sivches. This is the Sicha of Balak, the second Sicha of Balak in Chelik of Gimel on page 178. So a summary of what we learned in Siv Zayin. The Sicha is discussing the contradiction that there is in Chazal regarding the status of all the nations of the world when Moshiach comes. Are they going to be crushed and annihilated? The karka literally means they're going to be annihilated. Or no, the karka just means that we're going to rule over them. But they're still going to exist. And not only will they exist, actually, they will come around and serve the Eibishter. They're all going to come to serve Hashem. So, in Eis Zayin, what we learned is that we must say that Lasad Lavai, the Goyim, will be around. Elamai, the question is, since the Ikir of the Geula is for Yidden, and how do we know the Ikir of the Geula is for Yidden? Because the entire creation is B'Shvil Yisrael, B'Shvil HaTorah. So when we come to the ultimate perfection of creation, which is redemption, when Mashiach comes, it's all for the sake of Yidden. So now the question becomes, the Goyim that are here in the time of the Geula and also receive this revelation of Geula, in what way are they receiving it? Are they just here to serve Yidden? They have no mitzvahs for themselves. They have no value for themselves, no significance for themselves. They're totally secondary and here to serve Yidden. So they have the revelation of the Geula not as an entity for themselves, just in order to not disturb, furthermore to serve Yidden. Or perhaps the Goyim, the Geula that they experience it as an entity for who they are. There's a Geula for Yidden. True, the Goyim are created to serve Yidden, to be there for Yidden. However, they are a creation. Hashem created them. The Rebbe brought there the Lashon that the Rebbe just says, the last line before Sivches, the Rebbe writes, after all, they're a creation of Hashem. So if they are a creation, they will experience Geula as an experience for themselves. That's the two approaches that the Rebbe explained there. Okay. So we went through this last week. Yes. That the discussion that Rebbe has regarding Goyim seemingly applies also to other categories of creation, the Daimim, Tzimeach, and Chai as well. Seemingly. Okay, so now here the Rebbe will explain, this is the discussion, this is the real understanding of the argument regarding the status of Goyim Lasad Lavai. Nobody is arguing whether Hashem will literally and physically annihilate all nations of the world. That can't be. What they're arguing about is how do we view the existence of Goyim when the Eibishter brings the Geula for the Yidden? What happens with the Goyim? Where do they fit into this? Sifches, let's learn inside. So now based on this we can say that according to these two approaches mentioned there, this is what's being said here in the two interpretations of the Karka called B'nai Sheis. The two interpretations of what it means that all the B'nai Sheis, all the nations of the world will either be crushed or we will control them. Similar also, there's the argument that the Rebbe brought from the Gemara, the second in the Sif Beis of the Sicha, the 2/3 of the world will be cut away and will die, and only a third will be left. So the argument is, that third that will remain, is it only referring to Yidden? That's, I believe, Reish Lakish's opinion. Or does it include also Goyim? That Goyim will exist in the world as well. Just to remind you what we learned last week, that Rebbe made the point, maybe we learned this 2 weeks ago, it was, that even if it's true that we can't say that the Eibishter will annihilate all nations of the world, but Rishayim, the wicked ones, and the anti-Semites, and those that were very bad to Yidden, persecuted Yidden, they will get their punishment, Lasad Lavai, and the Eibishter will annihilate them. So you see over here, even according to the opinion that says that Goyim will remain Lasad Lavai, but it says only a third will remain. Because amongst the Goyim, many of them that deserve their punishment will get it. Right? Okay, so what are the two approaches here? With the first approach we said it before, as the Kulai, when the entire world is redeemed, which is Kailul U'Masailam, and that includes the nations of the world, is a prat bishvil Golus Yisrael. They don't get any Gola as an entity for themselves. They are there as a detail included in the redemption of Yidden, for the sake of Yidden. If Sod comes out as the Mitzias von Umes Ha'olam b'fnei atzmai, the existence of the entity of Goyim as they exist for themselves, that becomes completely gone, lost, it's over. So there's a huge difference in how we see the existence of Goyim today in the time of Galos and Lasad Lavai. Today, you look at Goyim, they live in this world and they seem to be completely independent. They don't serve Yidden, they don't seem to exist for the sake of Yidden, they're doing their own thing. We don't see how Goyim are here just for the sake of Yid. When Mashiach comes and you have the godly, the truth of the Eibishter revealed in the world, and now all of a sudden you see that what a guy. They have no mitzvahs for themselves, B'chlal. Their entire existence is just here for the sake of Yidden. So now the mitzvahs of Goyim is bottled. The mitzvahs of Goyim as an entity for themselves is literally annihilated. You don't have to physically exterminate them in order to annihilate them. By the very fact that now you clearly see that they have no significance for themselves. They have no value of existence for themselves. Their entire value is just for Yidden. That means that they, as a mitzvah, is bottled, doesn't exist anymore. Now, this doesn't only mean that the Goyim as nations, with every culture, the Chinese, the American, whatever it may be, that will be gone when Mashiach comes. Every individual guy existing in the world when Mashiach comes, you look at a guy, what are you going to see? You're going to see a guy that's living his life, enjoying life in this world. No, you'll look at the guy, you'll see, here's another servant of the Yidden. That's all you'll see. So he's going to lose his entire independence. He's going to lose his entire identity of who he was before.
That's all for his own sake. No?
What?
For his own sake, because he's a creation of Shikha.
Correct, of course.
The guy today has a he can be opposite. He can be satisfied with his life, happy with his life.
As is for himself.
That
because of the Helen Vahester of Galos. I mean, this is the truth. This is the truth of
nature of the goy. He has a shlemus and doesn't have to have beyond what he has.
Okay, but look, mitzad, the truth of the purpose of creation, which is b'shvil Yisrael, b'shvil HaTorah. So at the pnimius of who and what the existence of a guy is, even today, is for the sake of Yidden. But because we're in Galus, and that purpose and truth of creation is not apparent and is not revealed to us, so therefore you look at a guy, you see a guy living his life, enjoying himself, going on vacation and doing what he wants for himself.
But that's because nature is that way. He can be happy with what he has.
Okay.
So we're saying that's going to disappear.
Correct. That nature will disappear. What's nature? Nature is the biggest concealment on godliness, right? That's when you, I'm not sure what you mean by the term nature, but you usually consider this.
His tivius,
Tivius.
To be happy with, not with, he doesn't have to have greater things. He's not missing what we're missing. He's happy with what he has. He can get a shlemus in his life. He has a car, he has a house, he has this, that. He's a happy person. Mm-hmm. He's a complete person. He's for
himself. Correct.
He can really be,
successful person in society.
That's because of the type of his nature is that way. And now we're saying that that's going to disappear. That's
all going to be gone. When Mashiach comes.
According to that opinion.
Yeah, right. According to this opinion, correct.
That's what I don't see.
They're going to have a tremendous redemption as well. Adarabah, they're going to be included in the redemption. When Mashiach comes, the truth of the Eibush is going to be revealed everywhere. Not one iota of the world is going to be left out. But Adarabah, because the truth of Hashem is revealed everywhere in the world, so now you see that how is a guy included in this? We're not excluding them. We're including them. But if you're including him, what happens? The guy realizes that I'm just there to serve a Yid. Yeah, his own personal life will be no significance to it.
So I want to one thing to serve a Yid. It can't be Bagashmias because when Mashiach comes, everything's going to be. There's going to be no more hunger, no more jealousy.
But apparently we still will need servants. The Rebbe brought before how many thousands of servants here. The Rebbe brought
fine,
2,800 servants for every single Jew.
But what purpose are they going to serve?
What are they going to serve? So
clean the sidewalk, clean the room. What?
So
what do they serve?
Bring you this safer, bring you that safer.
What paper? What?
You're going to have new ideas. Today,
three servants. 2,800 servants.
We'll build you an empire.
You're going to have acres and acres of land, of real estate to take care of. Who's going to manage all your buildings? Who's going to manage all your properties, all the grain, everything? Who's going to take care of all this?
Isn't that a contradiction that the Gashmias?
The Gashmias is going to be Ruchnias. You'll have a lot of Gashmias, but it's all going to be infused and clearly Inyan of Ruchnias.
Oh, you're not excited?
Can we step down for a break?
Okay, this is one approach. Rebbe brings.
I don't want to carry it out for but the mom should step down for a goy.
But why are you saying step down?
Perspective in life would be, I have
Shattered.
no value at all.
His whole value will be serving a Yid. What greater value can there be?
Okay, very good.
Saying everything he built
in
up.
other words, he has to know. He'll have that to know.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. It'll be a redemption for him, but not as mitzias for himself. Okay, let's continue. The Rebbe says, "V'yeshleimar dugme ba'halacha." To give an example for this idea in halacha, where someone is physically here, but we don't consider him to be an entity for himself. We're in the middle of Sivches. So the Rebbe says, what's an example for this? Mitzias for an eved, the existence of a slave. He's not considered to be an entity for himself. Whatever he acquires belongs to the master. And the Rebbe in the Ha'ar is assigned to the Rashba. The Rebbe always brings the Rashba, which explains it doesn't mean that the Eved really is an entity for himself. But because he has to occupy his entire day serving his master, so Torah says we take his possessions, we take his money, which he first acquires for himself, and we give it to the master. That's not the pshat. The pshat is that the Eved lechatchila has no independence at all. He's an extension of his master. His entire existence in the world consists of the fact that he serves a master. He has no independence. He's an Eved. The difference between an Eved and a Ben Chayrin is not in the schedule of his day, not in whether he's employed or unemployed, whether he's busy or not busy. It's a difference in the very mitzias of the person. It brings in Chassidus also the same regarding the concept of Yitzias Mitzrayim. The difference between being an Eved and a Ben Chayrin is the difference in the etzem ahus of who the person is. How do you identify yourself? Are you a free man or are you a slave? So the slave has no independence. So when he gets money, he has a possession. So if it's his, but automatically it's his master's. It's not. He is his master. So the same thing. The Goyim will be elevated to such a level. The Goyim will be in a level where they will not have any independence. Their existence as an independence will be a charesu v'yigvo. That will be gone, and now their whole existence will be just as a prat in the world to serve Yidden. Why not? Sure. I think they will. They'll realize their purpose.
Are you worried about
Yeah, even David Pashat also is very dedicated. Very dedicated. Let's see the second approach. But according to the second approach, there is a separate accomplishment. And there's also a purpose in the fact that the guy, for who he is, for his life, will be refined and purified. Redemption will reach him not only by completely changing him and revealing that he's just there for Yidden. No. He who he is for his life will become completely elevated and meaningful and connected to Hashem. So then it comes out as loss of love. So then, as an existence, does not get nullified. The Geula reaches them and elevates them. Their lifestyle becomes spiritual and connected to the Eibishter for who they are. Since they are a creation of Hashem, even though they're for Yidden, but they're a creation of Hashem, the Geula reaches them and accomplishes something that's beneficial for them as a Metzias for themselves. Okay, the Rebbe will explain later in the Sikha this on a deeper level, because in the end of the day, the fact is a guy is created for the sake of Yid, B'Shvil Yisrael. So what does it mean that there's a concept of redemption for the guy separate from a Yid? How could that even be? If the truth of Hashem is revealed, lost at Lavai, so then there should be no independence of the existence of a guy. But the Rebbe will explain that later in the Sikha. Okay, now it's this approach, it's this explanation as a pirish from Vekarka Kol B'nei Sheis, as Moshiach is Shailit B'chol B'nei Nosha. This is what the Targum says, that Moshiach will rule over all of mankind. As Umas Ha'olam Zenen Gedem Metzias, we can define them as an entity for themselves. Was the far is of Zeh b'fnei atzmai shayech der inyan hashlitta from Mashiach. And therefore, if you talk about them existing, so then you could say that, yeah, Mashiach comes, and therefore the Yidden or Mashiach, Melech HaMashiach, rules over the Goyim, but ruling means that they exist, that they have an entity. Das Rabbi Yechanan, according to Rabbi Yechanan, Kepirish Aleph Shuvalei El Sif Beis, according to the first opinion, there's different opinions in the Rishonim, how to understand Rabbi Yechanan's opinion. So Rabbi Yechanan in the Gemara says, Vert euch of Zeh gesagt, leiniche le maraye damret lo hachi. Shlakish says all Goyim are going to be wiped out, annihilated. When Mashiach comes, and Rabbi Yechanan says their master, Hashem, is not happy that you say this about them. By the Meibishten, als maraye von der Umasaylam, by Hashem, which is the master of the entire creation, including the Goyim, is loy niche as ein Zeh soll sich nicht anhören in the Gula. The Eibishter, you can't say that the Geula comes to Yidden and the Goyim are just a prat, or just a detailed part of Yidden. If Hashem created them, so then Hashem is their creator, Hashem is their master, and therefore the truth of Hashem has to reach them for who they are, because they are a creation. The Rebbe sagt as euch Messiah werden reingerechnet in Vashklishi Vasaba. And therefore Rabbi Yechanan says, when it says that a third of mankind will remain, when Mashiach comes, it includes the Goyim as well. Those are the two approaches here. So now, which one of these approaches do we accept? La halacha. The approach that the Goyim will lose their entire independence, their own life, and they'll be totally bottled to Eden, or the approach that the Goyim will have a redemption that they'll experience in their life, for who they are. So let's see. So the Rebbe will tell us which opinion we pass like. So based on this explanation here, it comes out as in halacha, l'das Rambam, that if you look into the Rambam, la halacha, valderach zen teres achsidis, similar if you look into chsidis, is muvua kaifen abezanal. It's explained like the second approach, that the Geula does reach Goyim on a level that they experience Geula in their life as a creation for themselves. Where do you see this? The Rambam is madgish bekama mekaymis. The Rambam emphasizes in a few places as loss of lavai that der oiftu von der Geule v'nyanel sein euch b'shayches zu u'mesaylam. The Rambam clearly says that the accomplishment of the Geula and what comes along with it will also be in connection to the Goyim themselves and what they represent. Und in die alle Erte sagt das ve'ein b'fnei atzmai. And the Rambam always emphasizes this and brings this as a separate thing that the Goyim are experiencing Geula. Not just as a prat, as a detail in the Yidden's Geula, but no, as a mitzvah for themselves. Where do we see this? In the Tzvei Erte Ranal, the two places that were quoted earlier in the Sikha. In Seif Perik Yed Aleph Milchas Malachim, at the end of the 11th Perik of Milchas Malachim, the Rambam says, V'yisaken esaylam kulu lavadis Hashem b'yachat shenem achulu. The Rambam brings us a separate statement that Hashem rectifies the entire world and they will all come to serve Hashem. It doesn't mention there the fact that Goyim are there to serve Yidden, to help Yidden serve Hashem. It says that they will be elevated. Ubereish Perik Yud Beis, in the beginning of the 12th Perik, the Rambam says, Shiyu Yisrael Yeshvin Levetach Im Rishi Eilam, that the Yidden will sit securely together with all the wicked, the Goyim of the world. V'yachzeru kulam ledas ha'emes. And then the Rambam goes on to say, and all the Goyim, they will return to the religion of truth. They won't steal, they won't destroy. They'll eat only what's allowed, meaning something that they earned honestly, and they'll be able to live together with Yidden. So here, the Rambam, again, he's not saying that they're going to be serving Yidden. He says that the Goyim themselves, their lifestyle will be elevated. Their lifestyle will be meaningful and truthful. Not only as a prat of serving the Yidden. So the Rambam always speaks about the Geula as it relates to Goyim for who they are.
Sometimes it's the opposite.
What do you mean by the opposite? This is the second approach.
Well,
they will be serving us as well. This is in addition. Rabbi earlier, I think in the Sikha clarified this. This is in addition to the fact that they will be serving us. Oich. If you look in the end of Sif Zayin, the Rabbi clarified, the Goyim will be serving us. There's no doubt about that. But at the same time, though, they will also experience Geula in their own life as that their life themselves will be elevated and be more meaningful. Again.
They have a social luck, they'll be happy.
Correct.
Serving the Abishur. What's the source of the halacha?
And halacha, whether it mentions in halacha, I'm not sure where in halacha it's mentioned, but it's I hear what you're saying.
If you're serving somebody, you're an Evan. And then, but you're saying with the same breath that no, they're gonna be
They're gonna have both.
Geula.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah,
How can an Evan experience Geula?
Right.
He's under the thumb of the
two,
master.
Two different aspects at the same time. I hear what you're asking. It's a good question. Let's see what it says in Order 75. And this is actually today's Rambam of Gimel Prakim. Order 75. No, the next page, on page 179. Re'ei Gam Rambam. Hilchas Shuva Perik Tes Halacha Beis. What does it say in the Rambam, in today's Rambam and Hilchas Shuva? Ulefichach Yelamed Kol Ha'am Chulu. Mashiach will teach the entire nation, and v'yavoyu kol ha'goyim l'sheimai. The goyim will also come to listen to what Mashiach teaches. Shenema v'hoya ba'achris hayomim. In the end of days, noch yiyah har beis Hashem b'reish ha'arim. So then the mountain, Har Miriah, to go up to Hashem will be prepared for everyone to come and listen to what Mashiach says. So the goyim are going to come to listen to what Mashiach is teaching. They will be elevated. Instead of them being interested in the car or whatever else, or whatever else bothers them today, their lifestyle themselves, they'll be elevated and they'll be interested in coming to hear what does Mashiach have to say. That's going to be the elevation of the Goyim themselves. Take a look at Order 76. So here the Rebbe clarifies an interesting point that the Rambam says V'yachzer kulam l'dasa emes, that all the nations of the world are going to come around to the religion of truth. The Rebbe clarifies maybe this means that Lasad Lavai, all the Goyim are going to be Megayer.
Yeah.
So once they're Megayer, so they're not Goyim anymore. Reb is bringing this Rambam as a proof that Lasad Lavai, the Goyim, will be a Metzias for themselves and they'll experience an elevation. But maybe Adarabah, the Rambam is trying to say that they'll be Gadim. Let's see what it says in Order 76. If you read the continuation of the words of the Rambam there in Hilchas Malachim, it's mashma the ein kavanase bezeh she is gairu v'yikaplu das Yisrael. Doesn't mean that they're going to convert and accept the Yiddish religion to become Yidden Mamash. I'm just giving the parentheses. Even though in other places of the Rambam it's clear shedas ha'emes hainu das Yisrael. When the Rambam says the yachzeru l'das ha'emes, what's das ha'emes? What's the truth? The religion of truth? Yiddishkeit, Yidden. So maybe the Rambam here does mean that, but the Rebbe says from the Hemshech Lashon Rambam it's not mashma so. All it says is v'lo yigzulu, v'lo yashchisu, elo yoichlu davar hamutar b'nachasim Yisrael. If they're gadim, what's the Rambam saying? That they're not going to steal and they're not going to destroy. They're Yidden. It's much more than not stealing and not destroying. It's mashma that they're not going to become gadim. Okay, now v'chein tzarechim b'lashon das ha'emes shebeseif perik dal d'hilchos malachim. I have to look inside of it to see what the Rebbe is talking about. It's not clear what the term das ha'emes in the Rambam means. The Rambam uses this term of das ha'emes a number of times, and it always means Yiddishkeit. Okay, now here, very interesting. Take a look now on the bottom of the page. The Shulei Agilyon is a star. So the Rebbe says, Aval b'drashas, all the way at the bottom of the page. Aval b'drashas haran. But if you look into the drashas of the Ran, Drush Zayin, maybe Rayam Avodah Zarah, he brings a proof from the Gemara in Avodah Zarah, Shekol ha'umayis yeshuvu le'emunaseinu, b'chol pratei ha'mitzvos diktokein. Mashiach comes, all Goyim are going to convert and become Yidden and be Mekayim mitzvahs with all of its details. Wow. Okay. So love it, huh?
Come like all from Yidden.
I didn't look up the Gemara and Avodah Zarah there now. Who's going to be our servants?
Who's servant you're going to have?
It's a stira. No, but you have to have Goyim to be our servants. So who's going to be the servants?
Second class.
What do you mean second class? Chas v'shalom. If they're Gadim, they're Gadim. No servants. Drones. We don't need any servants.
From servant.
My wife also asked us to take out the garbage.
Oh, finally. No time. No taking out the garbage anymore.
I can't. I'm in the middle of learning.
Well, the Rebbe says, there is a girsa in the Rambam here that we quoted that says, V'yachzeru b'tshuva kulam. That all the Goyim are going to become chayzer b'tshuva. They're going to do tshuva. Which sounds sort of like saying that they're going to convert to become Gadim, like the Ran says. Okay, so from what it says here, it seems like the Rebbe is saying this question of whether the Goyim will be Megayer, Lasad Lava, is a machlokes between the Rambam and the Ran. But the Rambam obviously is what's accepted lahalacha, right?
Why?
So you can be no, because the Rambam is a sefer halacha. The Ran is a sefer of droshes. It's not a sefer halacha. Yeah, but here this is the droshes of the Ran. Droshes Ran. It's not the Pirish that the Ran wrote on the Rif, for example, which is what he wrote lahalacha. This is droshes. Okay, let's just see a little bit more inside the Sikha, one more paragraph. Of course, you see this also from the very end, in the closing of the Sefer of the Rambam. What will the entire world be occupied with? The knowledge of Hashem. For some pashtus l'shoyne is move on from the simple expression that the Rambam says is understood as the smein teichel mesaylam. When it says kol ha'olam, he doesn't only mean Yidden. Kol ha'olam refers also to all the nations of the world. And the Rebbe proves this even further. If you look in Order 77, Shulachain Mamshech. So then afterwards, when the Rambam wants to single out Yidden, not Goyim, so the Rambam says, Ulefichach Yisrael Chacham Gedolim v'Yidurim chulu. That everybody will be occupied with the knowledge of Hashem. But it's the Yidden that will be the great and very wise. Yisrael v'lo yumay. So that's referring only to Yidden. So you see clearly that all Goyim will be elevated for who they are, not just as a prat to serve Yidden, but the Goyim themselves, their life. They will experience Geula on their level for who they are. That's the Maskana ala halacha.
What happened to Ger Toshav?
Ger Toshav, same thing.
Huh?
Same thing.
What does it mean?
He also will be elevated on his level. Ger Toshav is a guy completely. He keeps
Right,
Sheva
right.
Mitzvahs B'nai Noach and the.
Do we
Sense.
say that they will become Ger Toshav or become Yidden? When the Rambam
From what the
said-
Rebbe is saying here, it sounds like that all Goyim will be on the level of a Ger Toshav. When Mashiach comes, they'll be doing Sheva.
That doesn't mean a question. In other words, they come back, every
Yeah.
etc. They won't stay
Right.
with this and that. It very well be Ger Toshav. Doesn't
Yeah.
mean
Correct? Not Gay to Mamish. Okay, we're right in the middle of an Indian here,
And
and
you
we're going to have
call
to
for that?
continue after Pesach and Hashem. You're going to remember where we were holding?
We'll make
Middle
an
of
asterisk.
Sif Tes. You have the
I'll make an
notes,
asterisk.
so you know Mitzvah Sunday after Pesach we'll
V'yei
continue.
shloima, right?
Yeah.
A kosher for
V'yei
Pesach,
shloima.
Mechal Sham and Azvachim and Apsachim.
Yeah.
We still have time to get it done this year, even with a Paraduma and the Carbon Pesach. You ready?